The courtroom buzzed with excitement, but it wasn't the usual tension that came with trials. This time it was the laughter and arrogance of three corrupt police officers, Mike Reynolds, Greg Carter, and Tom Willis. They leaned back in their chairs, relaxed, knowing they had once again escaped justice. The judge tapped his gavel. Case dismissed. Cheers erupted from the officer's side of the courtroom. Mike clapped Greg on the back. "Another day, another win," he said smugly. Greg chuckled. "They really thought they could take us down." Tom laughed, shaking his head. "Man, I love this job." For months, the three had been under investigation for racial profiling, excessive force, and planting evidence on innocent black citizens. But as always, their connections in high places ensured that the case fell apart before it could reach a fair verdict. Key witnesses backed out, accidentally lost footage, never made it to court, and just like that, they walked free. As they stood to leave, the courtroom doors swung open. A well-dressed black man walked in, his presence demanding attention. He had sharp brown eyes, a neatly trimmed beard, and a confidence that was impossible to ignore. The judge cleared his throat. "Before we end today's session, I have an announcement." The room quieted. "As of today, the city has appointed a new chief of police." He continued, "Please welcome Chief Jamal Brooks." Mike, Greg, and Tom froze. Their celebration turned to horror. Jamal Brooks, the same black man they had once falsely arrested, mocked, and treated like dirt. And now, he was their new boss. Jamal stepped forward, his voice steady. "Gentlemen, I look forward to working with you." Mike's throat went dry. Greg shifted uncomfortably. Tom clenched his fists. The party was over. The next morning, Mike, Greg, and Tom arrived at the precinct with heavy steps. The atmosphere felt different. The usual arrogance they carried was replaced by dread. Everyone in the department had heard the news. Jamal Brooks was now chief, and he had plans. As they entered, officers stood at attention, greeting their new leader with respect. Jamal stood at the front of the room, hands clasped behind his back. He was in full uniform, his badge gleaming under the fluorescent lights. His presence alone was enough to send a message. Things were about to change. "Reynolds, Carter, Willis." The three flinched. Jamal gestured for them to step forward. They hesitated, then walked toward him, their usual bravado gone. Greg forced a smile. "Chief Brooks, it's great to have you here." Jamal tilted his head slightly. "Is it?" Mike cleared his throat. "Absolutely, ready to serve under your leadership." Jamal said nothing. Instead, he placed a thick folder on the table in front of them. Inside were their files. Every complaint, every accusation, every corrupt act they had committed over the years. Evidence that had been buried was now exposed. Tom's hands turned clammy. "Chief, listen. Save it." Jamal's voice was sharp. "You've abused your power for too long." Greg wiped sweat from his forehead. "Chief, we were just following—" "You weren't following the law." Jamal's eyes darkened. "You were following corruption, greed, and racism, but today, that ends." The other officers in the room watched in silence, some with satisfaction, others with shock. Jamal folded his arms. "Effective immediately, you're all suspended pending an internal investigation." Mike's jaw dropped. "Suspended?" Jamal nodded. "This department will no longer protect criminals in uniform. And you three, you're done." The weight of those words hit them like a ton of bricks. The very system they had abused was now turning against them. 2 weeks later, the entire city was buzzing. Chief Jamal Brooks wasn't just making empty promises. He was tearing down the old, corrupt system and building something better. The internal investigation revealed everything: reports of excessive force, false arrests, illegal searches, and even stolen money from evidence lockers. Witnesses who once feared speaking up finally found their voices. The city had had enough. Mike, Greg, and Tom were arrested and dragged into the very same courtroom where they had once celebrated their victories, but this time there were no high fives, no smug grins, no easy escape. The prosecutor stood tall as he read out the charges. Officer Reynolds, Officer Carter, and Officer Willis, you are charged with misconduct, abuse of power, falsifying evidence, and multiple counts of racial discrimination. The courtroom was packed. Journalists scribbled notes. Protesters sat in the back waiting for justice. The judge, no longer under their control, was stern. How do you plead? Mike swallowed hard. Not guilty. Greg's hands trembled. This is a setup. The prosecutor cut him off. We have video footage, sworn statements, and forensic evidence. The truth is clear. The jury deliberated for only an hour. When they returned, the foreman spoke with confidence. Guilty. The courtroom erupted. Cheers filled the air. People hugged, clapped, and some even shed tears. Finally, justice had been served. As the officers were handcuffed and led away, Greg turned to Jamal. You set us up, Jamal smirked. No, you set yourselves up. I just let the truth come out. Mike sneered. Enjoy it while you can. We'll be back. Jamal's gaze was unwavering. No, you won't. The door slammed shut behind them. The reign of corruption was over, and Chief Jamal Brooks, he was just getting started.